Alright, welcome to this video. This is Mr. Maestas here with you, and I am going to be talking about the midpoint of a line segment and the distance between 2 points. So we're going back a little bit, take a look at some geometry. What's really geometry? It's called coordinate geometry. So I think you have probably done this in geometry. This is an Algebra 2 video, but you know, it's a little bit of review. So we're looking to try to find the, whoa, what is that? We're trying to find the midpoint between 2 points and the distance between 2 points. Now these are the formulas, but check it out. The formula, you know what, it's just like finding the middle, right? The half. So we're going to add them and divide by 2. It's not that bad. The middle of two things. And the distance formula is really the Pythagorean theorem. It looks complicated, but really it's just the Pythagorean theorem. So we'll look at what it looks like in a graph. So, you know, we use it a lot in all kinds of different things, especially when we're talking about the distance away from two things. You know, when we're looking at a map, and if this map was on a grid, we would be able to find the distance between two objects in a straight line, right? It gets a little more complicated when we have to follow the roads. If we were just to go, I guess, like a plane or birds the way a bird flies, what they say as the crow flies or something, that would be a straight line. And of course, the midpoint we use a lot to find, well, the middle point when we're doing like a garden. I did this right here, just doing my sprinklers, my garden, when I built a vegetable garden just a few weeks ago. I had to find the midpoint. You got to put it in the middle. And you know, some people, they need to have it centered. I know that when my wife asked me to put up a picture or a mirror on a wall, she wants that picture in the center. So I actually have to find the center of that, the midpoint of my wall, in order to put the thing up, the picture up, because otherwise it'll bug her the whole time. So I got to make sure it's centered. So here's how you do it mathematically anyway. To find the midpoint, you take the two x values and you add them together and divide by 2. Easy. You take the two y values, add them together, divide by 2. Cake. How do you use the distance formula? Well, all you do is you find the distance between the x's. So to find the difference between the x's, you subtract them. Find the difference between the y's, subtract them. Square them, add them together, take the square root. This is just the Pythagorean theorem, guys. It's just the Pythagorean theorem. So let's take a look. A couple problems. Find the midpoint of each line segment and the distance. So I'll find the midpoint first, and then we'll find the distance. So the midpoint, we're going to add, this is x1. Let's label it first. x1, x2, y1, y2. So the midpoint here, midpoint, we're going to add the two x's, -2 plus -5. Divide that by 2. Add the two y's, 2/3, plus -1/3, and divide that by 2. So let's see, that's going to be -7 over 2. And 2/3 minus 1/3 is going to give me 1/3 divided by 2. So I'm going to have -7/2, and that's going to give me 1/6. Alright, so that's the midpoint. What about the distance? Well, the distance, I'm going to do the square root of x2 minus, or x1 minus x2. It doesn't matter which way you go. I think I wrote it the other way around, but as long as you subtract them, because you're going to square it anyway, right? So when you find the difference, it's not going to matter. So I'm going to have -2 plus 5, which is 3 squared. 2/3 plus 1/3, which is 3/3, which is 1 squared. So I'm going to have square root of 9 plus 1, which is square root of 10, which is the distance. All right, that's all you do. Find the 2 points, find the distance between the 2 points, the midpoint. All right, one more here, and I got a kind of like a word problem here. So let's do the midpoint first. Midpoint, you should try this before I do it, okay? First thing you should do always is x1, y1, x2, y2. All right, so we're going to take 3 root 5 plus 5 root 5, divide that by 2, and -4 plus 1, divide that by 2. So 3 root 5 plus 5 root 5 is 8 root 5, divided by 2. -4 plus 1 is -3, divided by 2. I'm going to simplify this. 2 goes into 8 4 times. So I'm going to have 4 root 5 and -3/2. my professor in college used to say, cheesy cakey. Cheesy cakey. Pretty easy. Alright, so to find the distance, we're going to use the distance formula. So we're going to have 3 root 5 minus 5 root 5 squared plus negative 4 minus 1 squared. Negative 2 root 5 squared plus, that's negative 5 squared. So this is a little tricky here. When we square negative 2 root 5, we're going to square 2, so it's going to be 4. And then we're going to square the square root of 5, which is just going to be 5. And then this, that's going to be 25. So we have 20 plus 25, which is a square root of 45. That's it. Alright, circle is a radius with endpoints negative 1, 3. So I'm just going to write these here. Let's see, negative 1, 3. Let's just write them here. Let's say this is negative 1, 3. Because I don't have a grid here, so I'm not sure exactly where these are. I'm probably wrong here, but anyway, we'll just draw them, because we really only need to draw them so that we can kind of see what we're doing, right? So now right in the middle is the center. That's the center of the circle. So I don't really need to find the center. What I need to find is the radius, because the radius, to determine the circumference is 2 pi r, and the area is pi r squared. So I need to figure out the radius. So I could do this two ways. I could either find the midpoint and find the distance between these 2 points, or I can just find the whole thing, which is the diameter, and then divide by 2. I think that's easier to do. So let's go and find the distance, which is negative 1 minus negative 5 squared plus 3 minus 1 squared. So we're going to get negative 1 plus 5, which is 4 squared, plus 2 squared, which is 16 plus 4, which is square root of 20. Okay, so that is going to be 2 root 5 when I simplify that, because remember this is 4 and this is 5. Let's square root that, get 2 root 5. So then I would need to take that and divide. This is the diameter, right? This is the diameter, so I'm going to divide that by 2 to get my radius. So my radius is square root of 5. So now that I have that, come back over here to find the circumference. Is 2 pi times square root of 5. So my circumference is 2 root 5 pi. And then my area is pi r squared. So that's pi times square root of 5 squared, which is just 5 pi. And that's my area. I'm going to say units squared. I'm going to say units because it didn't tell me what the units were. All right, so that's all there is to it, midpoint and distance.